The krilt beast thrashed one last time before the sedative finally took hold. Dr. Reland stepped back, all four arms still holding the specialized restraints, and watched as the creature's purple scales stopped glowing with rage. Treating venomous animals was just another day's work. Nothing special about it anymore. "Thank you, Doctor," the Dravik warrior said, his voice muffled through the protective helmet. Even warriors who fought in actual wars knew better than to stand too close to a krilt without protection. I was certain we would lose him. Ryland's biosensors retracted into their head as they cleaned their instruments. 30 years of treating the galaxy's most dangerous creatures had taught them one important lesson: respect everything, fear nothing. That attitude had saved colonies, prevented disasters, and earned Rylan a reputation that stretched across 12 systems. The venom sac was infected. "Nothing more," Rylan said, making notes on their data pad. "Keep him on the antibiotics for 10 cycles. He will be fine." The Dravik carried his sedated pet away in a reinforced container, and Rylan felt that familiar satisfaction of another successful treatment. The medical center was quiet now. Just the hum of equipment and the soft skittering of their assistant Pip organizing files in the next room. Pip poked their fuzzy head through the doorway, all 6 legs tapping nervously on the floor. The little Fenari always looked worried about something. "Doctor, did you see the announcement? New species joining the station next week." "Another species?" Rylan washed their hands in the cleaning solution. "What are they called?" "Humans. From a planet called Earth." Pip's whiskers twitched. The classification system flagged their homeworld as Class 12. That made Rylan pause. Class 12 was the highest danger rating in the galactic database. Only a handful of planets earned that designation, and the species that evolved on them were usually either extinct or too primitive to achieve space travel. A Class 12 Death World species reaching the stars? That was remarkable. "Interesting," Rylan said. "I look forward to meeting them." Before Pip could respond, an emergency alert flashed across every screen in the medical center. The high-priority tone made Ryland's scales ripple with alertness. Emergency calls were rare on Andromeda Station, and they usually meant something had gone very wrong. "All medical personnel, respond to Docking Bay 7. Biological threat detected. Repeat, biological threat in Docking Bay 7. Ryland grabbed their emergency medical kit and headed for the door. Pip scrambled after them, datapad clutched in their small paws. "Doctor, wait! The security briefing says multiple teams have refused to approach. They are calling it an extreme danger situation." "Then they need someone who does not refuse," Ryland said, their long legs carrying them quickly through the corridors. Other station personnel pressed themselves against the walls as Ryland passed. Everyone knew the doctor, and everyone knew that if Ryland was moving fast, something serious was happening. The corridors near Docking Bay 7 had been cleared. Security barriers blocked the main entrance, and at least 20 armed guards stood in defensive positions. Commander Hallex, the station's security chief, looked relieved when Rylan arrived. "Doctor, thank the stars. We have a situation." "Explain." Rylan set down their medical kit and began unpacking specialized containment equipment. Hallex pulled up a video feed on a portable monitor. "A transport ship arrived 30 minutes ago. Human vessel. They have something in their cargo bay, and our sensors are reading it as a significant threat. The problem is the human will not leave it alone." The video showed the inside of the docking bay. A large metal crate sat on the loading platform, and it was shaking. Whatever was inside was strong and angry, but what caught Ryland's attention was the human standing right next to it, completely unprotected, acting as if nothing was wrong. "The human has no protective equipment," Ryland observed. "We noticed that too," Hallex said grimly. "We tried to evacuate them, but they refused. They say the creature is theirs and they need a veterinary inspection before they can bring it onto the station." "That is when we called you." Ryland studied the shaking crate. Their biosensors could detect readings even through the video feed. Strong heartbeat, elevated stress hormones, powerful muscle structure. Whatever was in that box was built for violence. "What does the database say about it?" Hallex tapped his datapad and a file appeared. The information made Ryland's scales stand straight up. "The creature is from Earth. The classification system automatically flagged it as extreme threat level based on the planet's environmental danger rating. According to the analysis, it has powerful jaws capable of crushing bone, retractable claws designed for tearing flesh, and pack hunting instincts that make it highly aggressive. And the human is just standing there," Ryland said quietly. "Yes, They have been standing there for 30 minutes. Occasionally, they reach through the crate's bars and touch the creature. Every time they do, our sensors detect an increase in the creature's aggression response. Rylan watched as the human did exactly that. A small hand reached through the bars and something inside the crate moved. The violent shaking stopped for a moment, then resumed even harder than before. "I will need full containment protocols," Rylan said, making their decision. "Tranquilizer equipment, backup sedatives, and keep the security teams ready. If this creature is truly from a Class 12 death world, we cannot take chances." "Understood, Doctor." Hallex began issuing orders to his team. Rylan suited up in their heaviest protective gear, the kind they only used for the most dangerous animals. The suit was reinforced against claws, teeth, venom, and even energy-based attacks. It made movement awkward, but staying alive was more important than comfort. As they approached the entrance to the docking bay, Pip caught up to them. "Doctor, please be careful. The readings on that creature are worse than anything we have treated before." "I have handled worse," Rylan said, though they were not entirely sure that was true. The docking bay doors opened and Rylan walked inside. The human turned to look at them, and Rylan got their first clear view of the new species. They were small, barely reaching Rylan's chest with smooth skin and only 2 arms. They looked fragile, not at all like a species that survived a death world. "Oh, thank goodness," the human said, their voice carrying relief and happiness. "I have been waiting forever. I tried to let him out earlier to stretch his legs, but people started screaming. I did not understand what the problem was." "Let it out?" This human had tried to release a death world predator in a docking bay full of people. Rylan approached slowly, keeping their movements measured and calm. Behind them, security teams adjusted their aim, ready to fire if the creature broke free. "I am Dr. Rylan," they said, their translator converting the words into the human language. "I understand you need veterinary clearance for your animal." "Yes. Finally, someone who can help." The human smiled, and Rylan noticed they had very white teeth. Omnivore teeth built for both plants and meat. "I am Ruby Collins. I just got assigned to the research division here on the station. This is my best friend, and the rules say I need medical approval before he can leave quarantine." Best friend. The human called a dangerous predator their best friend. "I will need detailed information about the creature," Rylan said, pulling out their medical scanner. "Species classification, biological requirements, behavioral patterns." "Oh, that is easy," Ruby said cheerfully. "He is a dog. German Shepherd breed specifically. 2 years old, fully vaccinated, and absolutely perfect." Rylan's translator struggled with the word dog for a moment before providing a definition. Domesticated pack predator descended from ancestral wolf species. The additional information that loaded made Rylan's hearts beat faster. Bite force sufficient to break bones. Hunting drive rated at maximum levels. Territorial and protective instincts that could trigger lethal responses. "This creature is a predator," Rylan said carefully. "Well, yes, technically," Ruby agreed. "But he is a very good boy. Want to meet him?" Behind Rylan, every security officer took a step back. Commander Halleck's voice came through the communication system, tight with stress. "Doctor, we strongly advise against direct contact." Ruby looked confused. "Meet him? He is perfectly safe. I have had him since he was 8 weeks old." Rylan noticed something then. Ruby's arms had several pale scars, old wounds that had healed. "You are injured." "What? Oh, these?" Ruby glanced at her arms and laughed. "Those are from when Atlas was a puppy and did not know his own strength yet. He is much better now. Barely ever nips anymore, and when he does, it is just playing." The translator provided another concerning word, puppy, juvenile form of dog species, which meant the creature in the crate was fully grown now, larger and stronger than when it had caused those scars. "I will need to assess the animal before making any decisions about station clearance," Rylan said. "Standard protocol requires containment and sedation for examination." Ruby's happy expression faded slightly. "Sedation? That seems extreme. Atlas is really friendly. He loves meeting new people. Well, new beings, I guess. You would be his first alien friend. The human kept using that word for a creature that could kill her in seconds. "The protocols are for everyone's safety," Rylan explained. "A creature from a Class 12 death world cannot be allowed free movement until we understand its behavior patterns." "Class 12? Ruby tilted her head. "Is that bad?" "It is the highest danger rating in our system." Ruby looked genuinely surprised. For Earth? I mean, sure, we have some dangerous animals, but you learn to deal with them. It is just home. Just home. This species considered a Class 12 death world to be normal. Rylan was beginning to understand why humans had made it to space. Regardless, Rylan said, I must insist on proper containment protocols before the creature is released. Ruby sighed but nodded. Okay, if you say so. But I am telling you, Atlas would never hurt anyone unless I told him to. He is the sweetest dog in the galaxy. That last part made Rylan's blood run cold, unless I told him to. The human could command this predator to attack, and judging by Ruby's complete lack of fear, the creature would obey. Commander Hallex refused to let anyone else enter the docking bay until proper containment measures were in place. Security teams wheeled in additional barriers, their hands shaking slightly as they positioned the equipment. Nobody wanted to be close when that crate opened. Ruby sat on a supply container, swinging her legs and looking bored. She kept glancing at the crate and making soft sounds that Rylan's translator could not interpret properly. Whatever those sounds meant, they made the creature inside the crate shake less violently. Full sensor analysis complete, Doctor. Pip's voice came through Rylan's communication device. The little assistant had wisely chosen to stay in the security control room. The readings are concerning. The creature's jaw strength exceeds anything in our database for animals of similar size. Its teeth are designed for gripping and tearing. Multiple sensory organs detect threat assessment capabilities far above standard predator levels. Rylan studied the data on their portable screen. The biological specifications were indeed alarming. This dog creature had the tools necessary to be an efficient killer. Fast, strong, intelligent, and equipped with natural weapons. What about its brain activity? Rylan asked. High. Very high. Intelligence ratings suggest problem-solving abilities and complex social understanding. Doctor, this is not a simple beast, this creature thinks. That was somehow more frightening than the physical capabilities. A mindless predator followed instinct. An intelligent predator made choices, Ruby, Rylan said, turning to face the human. I need you to provide complete information about this animal. Behavior patterns, diet, training history, medical background, everything. Sure, Ruby said brightly. She pulled out a data chip and handed it over. This has all of Atlas's records. Vaccination history, vet visits, training certifications, even his puppy pictures. He was so tiny when I got him. Rylan inserted the chip into their reader and immediately regretted it. The first image showed Ruby holding a small ball of fur. The creature in her arms looked harmless, almost cute. But Rylan knew what it grew into. The next images showed the progression. Larger, stronger, more capable with each passing month. And in every single picture, Ruby was touching the creature, holding it, letting it press its face against hers, completely trusting. You have had this predator since it was very young, Rylan observed. Since he was 8 weeks old, yes. That is when most people get puppies. Well, responsible people anyway. Some folks buy from bad breeders, but I did my research and found a good one. The translator provided context. Breeders were humans who intentionally produced more of these creatures. Humans actually wanted more predators around them. Why? Rylan asked, genuinely confused. Why would you choose to bring a dangerous predator into your home? Ruby looked at Rylan as if they had asked why water was wet. Because dogs are amazing? They are loyal, loving, protective, and great companions. I cannot imagine life without a dog. My family has always had them. Your family. Multiple humans in one dwelling, all living with this predator. Well, we usually had 2 or 3 dogs at a time. My parents have a golden retriever and a border collie right now. Those are different breeds, good for different things. Different breeds. There were variations of this predator species. Rylan made a note to research that later, though they were not sure they wanted to know. The medical records indicate multiple injuries, Rylan said, scrolling through the files. Lacerations, puncture wounds, bruising, all treated at Earth medical facilities. Oh, those were accidents, Ruby said casually. When Atlas was teething, he chewed on everything. Including me sometimes. And we had that incident at the dog park when another dog got aggressive and Atlas defended me. He did not mean to knock me over, but he is big and sometimes forgets that. Defended. The creature recognized threats and took action against them. Rylan added that to the growing list of concerning facts. Are you not afraid it will hurt you? Rylan asked. Ruby actually laughed. Atlas, no way. He might lick me to death, but that is about it. He is trained, socialized, and bonded to me. Dogs are pack animals, Doctor. I am his pack. He would never harm me. Pack animals. That triggered something in Reland's memory. They pulled up the xenobiology database and searched for pack behavior patterns. The results were enlightening and terrifying in equal measure. Pack animals worked together, communicated complex information, and protected their group members with absolute commitment. A pack predator was exponentially more dangerous than a solitary one. If this creature sees you as pack, Reland said slowly, what does it think of other beings? Ruby considered that. Well, Atlas is friendly with most people once he knows they are safe. But he is protective of me. If someone threatened me, he would respond. That is what good dogs do. There it was. The creature was not just dangerous. It was a trained weapon that followed this small human's commands and protected her from threats, and Ruby seemed to think this was perfectly normal. We need to proceed with containment, Reland said firmly. The protocols exist for good reasons. Okay, Ruby said, standing up and stretching. But I am telling you right now, he is not going to be happy about being tranquilized. He does not even like getting his nails trimmed. Ryland signaled to the security team. They moved into position, weapons ready, barriers secured. Every precaution they could take was in place. Commander Hallex watched from the control room, his fingers hovering over the emergency containment button that would seal the entire docking bay if things went wrong. Ruby, please step away from the crate, Reland said. Can I at least calm him down first? He is stressed from the trip, and all this security is making him nervous. He can sense when people are afraid. That was not reassuring. Fine, but make it quick. Ruby approached the crate and knelt beside it. She reached through the bars with both hands, and Ryland tensed, ready to activate the containment field if the creature attacked. But it did not attack. The violent shaking stopped. Ruby made those soft sounds again, and something inside the crate made a responding noise that Ryland's sensors registered as a whine. I know, buddy, Ruby said gently. I know you do not like being locked up. Just a little longer, okay? These nice people need to check you over, and then we can go to our new home. I promise. The creature made another sound, different from the first. Ruby smiled and scratched through the bars. That is my good boy. Such a good boy. Reland watched this interaction with growing confusion. The sensor readings showed the creature's stress levels decreasing. Its heart rate slowed. The aggressive posturing stopped. Ruby's presence and voice had a measurable calming effect on the predator. All right, Ruby said, standing up and stepping back. He is as calm as he is going to get. Please try not to scare him too much. Reland approached the crate with their tranquilizer equipment ready. The standard procedure was to sedate through the containment bars, wait for full effect, then open the crate for examination. They had done this hundreds of times with various species, but when Reland looked through the bars, they were not prepared for what they saw. Two eyes stared back. Not the empty, instinct-driven eyes of a beast, but intelligent eyes, aware eyes. The creature was evaluating Ryland just as much as Ryland was evaluating it. The dog's ears were pressed back against its head, and its lips pulled slightly away from its teeth. Ryland recognized that posture from their predator training. Warning display. Ruby, Ryland said carefully. The creature is showing aggressive signals. Because he does not know you yet, Ruby explained. Atlas, easy. These are friends. Nobody is going to hurt you! The dog's ears moved forward slightly at the sound of Ruby's voice. The tension in its body decreased, but it never stopped watching Ryland. I am going to administer the sedative now, Ryland announced. Do you have to? He really hates needles. It is necessary for safety. Ryland loaded the tranquilizer and carefully positioned the injector near the bars. The dog watched every movement. Ryland activated the device, and there was a soft sound as the medication was delivered. The dog yelped and jumped back. The crate shook violently, and for a moment Ryland thought they had made a terrible mistake. But Ruby's voice cut through the chaos. Atlas, sit. Sit, boy, the dog sat. Despite the sedative entering its system, despite the fear and stress, the creature obeyed the command. It sat there, staring at Ruby with complete trust, waiting for her next instruction. Good boy, Ruby said softly. Such a good boy. The tranquilizer took effect over the next few minutes. The dog's movements became sluggish, its eyes drooping. Finally, it lay down in the crate and went still. He is unconscious, Ryland confirmed, checking the readings. We can proceed with examination. Security teams moved forward to open the crate. They worked quickly, still nervous despite the sedated state of the creature. When the door swung open, Ryland finally saw the dog in full. It was large, easily as big as Ruby herself. Thick fur covered a powerful body built for running and fighting. The paws had claws designed for gripping ground while chasing prey. The tail was long and muscular, and the head, even unconscious, showed the shape of strong jaws capable of incredible bite force. "Oh, Atlas," Ruby said sadly, seeing her companion lying still. "I am sorry, buddy." "The sedative will wear off in approximately 2 hours," Rylan said, beginning their examination. "He will be fine." As Rylan worked, checking vitals, examining teeth, testing reflexes, they could not shake one persistent thought. Humans looked at this creature and saw a friend. Earth must be truly terrifying if this was what they considered safe. The medical examination table in Rylan's center was designed to hold creatures up to 3 times standard humanoid mass. Atlas barely fit. His sedated body sprawled across the surface, paws hanging over the edges, tongue lolling out of his mouth in a way that Ruby found adorable and Rylan found unsettling. "His teeth are very clean," Rylan observed, using their instruments to carefully examine the dog's mouth. Each tooth was sharp, designed for specific purposes. The canines for gripping and piercing, the molars for crushing. Evolution had crafted this creature into an efficient predator. "I brush them 3 times a week," Ruby said proudly. She stood right next to the table, one hand resting on Atlas's back. "Dental health is important for dogs. Bad teeth can lead to infections and other problems." Rylan paused. "You put your hands inside its mouth, voluntarily. How else would I brush his teeth?" The casual way Ruby said it made Rylan's scales ripple with disbelief. They had met species that would rather lose a limb than put it inside a predator's mouth. "Ruby did it 3 times a week for hygiene purposes." "Moving on," Rylan said, deciding not to pursue that particular nightmare further. They checked Atlas's cardiovascular system, finding a strong, steady heart rate. "His vital signs are excellent. Physical condition is very good. Muscle structure indicates regular exercise. We run together every morning," Ruby said. 5 kilometers, sometimes more if we have time. And we go to the park on weekends so he can play fetch and socialize with other dogs." "Other dogs," Rylan repeated. "There are more of these creatures on Earth. Millions of them. Dogs are one of the most popular pets in the world. Pretty much every culture has them. Millions. Earth had millions of these predators living among its population." Rylan tried to imagine their homeworld with millions of krilt beasts walking around and nearly fainted. "And they all live with humans? In your homes?" "Most of them, yes. Some are working dogs, like police K9 units or search and rescue teams. Service dogs help people with disabilities. Therapy dogs visit hospitals and schools. But most are just pets, family members." Rylan pulled up Earth's database on their screen. The search for dogs returned overwhelming results. Hundreds of breeds, each developed for different purposes. Some were small enough to fit in a human's hand. Others were larger than Atlas. All of them were predators. All of them lived with humans. "This breed, German Shepherd," Rylan said, reading the file, "originally developed for herding livestock and protection work. High intelligence, strong protective instincts, requires extensive training and socialization, potential for aggression if improperly handled. That is why training is so important," Ruby agreed. "German Shepherds are amazing dogs, but they need structure and purpose. Atlas went through basic obedience, advanced training, and socialization classes. He knows dozens of commands. Rylan remembered how Atlas had sat despite being terrified and sedated. "Demonstrate. He is unconscious. When he wakes. I want to see this training you speak of." Ruby smiled. "Sure, Atlas loves showing off." The examination continued. Rylan checked every system, took blood samples, scanned for parasites or diseases. Everything came back healthy. Too healthy. This creature was in perfect physical condition, maintained by Ruby's careful attention to its needs. "The scars on your arms," Rylan said while reviewing the results. "You said they were from when Atlas was young. Does this happen often? Humans being injured by their pets?" Ruby shrugged. "Puppies bite. They are teething, exploring the world with their mouths, learning boundaries. You teach them what is appropriate and what is not. By the time they are adults, they know better, but the potential for harm remains. Sure, Atlas could hurt me if he wanted to. He has the physical capability, but he does not want to. That is the whole point of the bond we share." Rylan set down their instruments and looked at Ruby directly. "Help me understand this. You take a predator into your home when it is young and vulnerable. You feed it, care for it, train it. You teach it to trust you and depend on you. Then when it grows large enough to kill you, you trust it will not. Why? Ruby was quiet for a moment, thinking about her answer. Because dogs chose us too. Thousands of years ago, wolves started hanging around human camps. They ate our scraps, helped with hunting, warned us about dangers. Over time, we evolved together. They became less wild, more cooperative. We gave them food and shelter. They gave us loyalty and companionship. It was not humans forcing dogs to be pets. It was a partnership that both species wanted. But Atlas could still harm you. My friends could harm me too. Anyone could, really. But I do not live my life assuming the worst of everyone around me. I trust the people and animals I have built relationships with. Atlas has never given me a reason not to trust him. Relan had studied countless species and their relationships with other creatures. They had seen symbiosis, parasitism, predation, competition, but this was something different. This was a bond built on mutual choice and maintained through emotional connection rather than necessity. What do you get from this relationship? Rylan asked. Besides the obvious protection, Ruby's expression softened. Unconditional love. Atlas does not care if I had a bad day at work or said something stupid. He is always happy to see me. He listens when I talk, even though he does not understand most of it. When I am sad, he puts his head on my lap. When I am happy, he celebrates with me. He makes every day better just by existing. And what does Atlas get? A home, food, medical care, exercise, mental stimulation, and someone who loves him unconditionally right back. It is not a one-sided relationship, Doctor. We both benefit. We both chose each other. Ryland's translator provided additional context on the word love that Ruby kept using. It was a complex emotion that humans applied to various relationships: family, friends, romantic partners, and apparently their pets. The concept of loving a predator was foreign to most species Ryland knew. A soft whine interrupted the conversation. Atlas was beginning to wake up. His paws twitched and his eyes slowly opened. For a moment he looked confused, then his gaze found Ruby. His tail started wagging before he was even fully conscious. "Hey, buddy," Ruby said gently, stroking his head. "You are okay. We are all done." Atlas tried to stand but stumbled, still groggy from the sedative. Ruby helped steady him, and Rylan watched as the supposedly dangerous predator leaned against his human for support. The dog's entire focus was on Ruby. Complete trust, complete devotion. "He is clear for station residency," Rylan said, making notes in their file. "All medical checks passed. But I need to add restrictions. The dog must remain leashed in public areas. Training demonstrations must be provided to station security, regular check-ins to monitor behavior." "That is all fine," Ruby said. "We follow leash laws anyway." "Atlas is really good on walks." Atlas was steadier now, standing on his own. He looked around the medical center with curiosity rather than fear. His tail continued wagging, a metronome of happiness. When his eyes fell on Rylan, he tilted his head slightly, studying the alien doctor. Then Atlas did something unexpected. He walked over to Rylan, moving slowly and carefully, and sat down in front of them. He lifted one paw off the ground and held it up. Rylan stared at the offered paw. "What is this?" "He wants to shake hands," Ruby said, laughing. "It is a trick I taught him when he was a puppy. It is his way of saying hello and making friends. The creature wants to be friends with me. Atlas wants to be friends with everyone. He is very social." Rylan looked at the paw, then at Atlas's face. The dog's expression was open and friendly. His tail wagged hopefully. This predator from a death world wanted to greet Rylan with a gesture of friendship. Slowly, carefully, Rylan reached out with one hand and touched the paw. Atlas's tail wagged harder. He made a soft huffing sound that Rylan's sensors registered as pleasure. "Good boy, Atlas," Ruby praised. "You made a new friend." Rylan released the paw and stepped back, processing what just happened. They had made physical contact with a Class 12 Death World predator, and it had been gentle. The creature could have bitten, scratched, or attacked. Instead, it offered friendship. "I do not understand humans," Rylan admitted. Ruby grinned. "We get that a lot. But you will learn. Humans are not as scary as everyone thinks. We just have different perspectives on what danger means. On Earth, you learn to respect dangerous things without being paralyzed by fear. You learn to build relationships even with creatures that could hurt you. It makes life more interesting." Atlas, apparently satisfied with his introduction, returned to Ruby's side and pressed against her leg. She scratched behind his ears absently, and he closed his eyes in contentment. "There is one more thing," Ruby said. I am going to be working long hours in the research division. Atlas will need exercise during the day. Is there anywhere on the station where he can run around safely? Rilan thought about the empty cargo bay on level 3. It was large, open, and currently unused. I will speak with station administration about creating an exercise area. But I want to be present during the first sessions. I need to observe Atlas's behavior in different situations. That works for me. And Doctor, thank you for giving us a chance. I know we seem strange humans and our pets, but I promise, once you get to know Atlas, you will understand why we love dogs so much. Rylan watched as Ruby led Atlas toward the door. The dog walked perfectly at her side, matching her pace, looking up at her every few steps as if checking that she was still there. The leash connecting them was barely taut. Atlas did not need to be controlled. He simply wanted to be near Ruby. As they left, Pip emerged from the back room where they had been hiding. Doctor, you touched it. You actually touched the Death World predator. It seems I did, Rylan said, still slightly shocked by their own actions. And you survived. I survived. Pip's whiskers twitched thoughtfully. Maybe humans are not the only ones who need to learn about trust. Rylan looked at their hand, the one that had touched Atlas's paw. Perhaps Pip was right. Perhaps the lesson here was not about understanding dogs. It was about understanding that danger and trust were not opposites. They could exist together, balanced by respect and choice. Atlas had chosen to offer friendship. Ruby had chosen to build her life around a predator. And Rylan had chosen to shake a paw. The galaxy was more complicated than they had thought. 3 days after approving Atlas for station residency, Rylan stood in the newly designated Earth Species Exercise Zone and wondered what they had gotten themselves into. The cargo bay had been cleared, marked with safety boundaries and equipped with monitoring systems. Now it served as a place where Ruby could exercise her predator without terrifying the general population, though terrified was perhaps too strong a word. Curious was more accurate. At least 30 aliens from various species lined the observation windows, watching as Ruby threw a bright orange ball across the bay. Atlas took off like a missile, his powerful legs propelling him forward with shocking speed. He caught the ball mid-bounce, turned sharply, and raced back to Ruby. Good boy, Ruby praised, taking the wet ball from his mouth. Ready? Go get it. She threw again. Atlas ran again. The watching crowd murmured in amazement. Several young Fenari children pressed their faces against the glass, fascinated by the display. The creature is fast, Commander Hallex observed. He stood next to Rylan, watching with professional interest. Very fast, and it responds instantly to her commands. It is called fetch, Rylan explained, reading from their datapad. A common game played between humans and dogs. It exercises the dog's body and mind while strengthening the bond between them. It looks like attack training, Hallex said bluntly. Rylan could not entirely disagree. The speed, focus, and intensity Atlas displayed were certainly applicable to combat situations. But the dog's posture was relaxed, his tail wagging, his movements joyful rather than aggressive. This was play, not practice for violence. Ruby mentioned you wanted to speak with me, Hallex continued. Something about training programs? Yes, Rylan said. More humans are scheduled to arrive on the station over the next few months. According to immigration records, at least 5 families are bringing dogs. Station security needs to understand how to interact with these creatures safely. You mean how to stop them if they attack? I mean how to avoid situations where they might feel threatened enough to attack. Dogs are not mindless beasts, Commander. They are intelligent, emotional beings who respond to how they are treated. If we approach them with fear and aggression, they will respond in kind. If we approach them with respect and understanding, they will be peaceful. Hallex did not look convinced, but he nodded. What do you suggest? Before Rylan could answer, something happened in the exercise bay that changed everything. A maintenance drone malfunctioned. It had been performing routine repairs near the ceiling when its anti-gravity system failed. The drone fell, sparking and screeching, directly toward a group of Fenari civilians who had wandered too close to the bay entrance. People screamed. The Fenari dove for cover. The drone crashed into the floor with a tremendous noise, sending pieces of metal flying. Smoke billowed from its damaged circuits. In the chaos, everyone panicked and ran. Everyone except Ruby. She stood calmly, assessing the situation. And Atlas, who had been in mid-fetch just seconds before, immediately changed. His playful posture vanished. His body lowered slightly, muscles tensed, eyes locked on the smoking drone. He moved between Ruby and the potential threat without being told to do so. Reland's biosensors read the dog's changed state. Heart rate elevated, adrenaline spike, all senses focused. This was the predator they had feared. This was what Atlas looked like when he perceived danger, but he did not attack. He stood there waiting, watching Ruby for guidance. "Atlas, easy," Ruby said calmly. Her voice was steady, showing no fear. "Stay." The dog remained in place, still alert but controlled. Ruby walked toward the drone carefully, and Atlas matched her movement, keeping himself between her and the unknown threat. Station maintenance arrived quickly, securing the damaged drone and clearing the smoke. The entire incident lasted less than 3 minutes. But those 3 minutes revealed something crucial about the human-dog relationship. "Did you see that?" Commander Halleck said quietly. The creature immediately went into protective mode. No hesitation. It positioned itself to defend her. And it waited for her command, Rylan added. It did not attack the drone, did not chase the people who ran, did not give in to instinct. It protected, but did not act without guidance. Ruby was kneeling next to Atlas now, running her hands over him, checking for injuries from flying debris. She spoke softly, and gradually Atlas relaxed. His tail started wagging again. The predator became a pet once more. Halleck tapped his datapad thoughtfully. "That level of control is impressive. And useful. What are you thinking?" Rylan asked. "I am thinking that if humans are bringing dogs to this station anyway, we should understand how to work with them rather than fear them. You mentioned training programs. I want to expand that idea." Over the next hour, Halleck and Rylan discussed possibilities while Ruby continued exercising Atlas. The more Rylan watched, the more they understood the complexity of the human-dog bond. It was not about dominance or control, it was about partnership and communication. Eventually, Ruby brought Atlas over to the observation area. The dog was panting happily, his tongue hanging out, looking tired but satisfied. Several of the watching aliens stepped back nervously, but the Fenari children stayed pressed against the glass. "That was quite a display during the incident," Rylan said. Atlas's response was very controlled. Ruby nodded, giving Atlas water from a collapsible bowl. German Shepherds are naturally protective, but protection does not mean aggression. Atlas knows the difference between a real threat and a startling situation. We have trained extensively for that. "I would like to learn more about this training," Rylan said. "And Commander Halleck has a proposal for you." Halleck explained his idea. The station needed to integrate dogs into the community safely. That meant education programs for the existing population, and possibly training some dogs for station security purposes. Earth already used dogs for security, search and rescue, and detection work. Why not apply that here? Ruby listened carefully, occasionally scratching Atlas's ears while she thought. The dog sat leaning against her leg, completely content. "I would need to evaluate each dog individually," Ruby said. "Not every dog is suited for security work. It requires specific temperament, training, and socialization. But yes, I could develop a program. It would actually be good for the dogs. They need jobs, purpose. It keeps them mentally healthy." "Mentally healthy?" Halleck repeated. "Dogs are working animals, Commander. For thousands of years they have had jobs to do. Hunting, herding, guarding, helping humans with tasks. A bored dog is often a destructive dog. They need mental stimulation as much as physical exercise." Rylan made notes on their pad. This was fascinating from a xenobiology perspective. Humans had not just domesticated predators, they had created a relationship where both species needed each other for psychological well-being. "There is one thing I would like to request," Ruby said. "Those Fenari children have been watching Atlas for 3 days now. They are clearly interested. Would it be possible to arrange a controlled introduction? Let them meet Atlas properly?" Every adult in the observation area looked horrified at the suggestion. Let children near the Death World predator? Absolutely not. But Ruby continued calmly. Part of living with dogs means teaching people, especially children, how to interact with them safely. Fenari are small and non-threatening. Atlas is good with children. It could be an educational opportunity. Rylan considered it. The logical part of their brain said it was dangerous. But they had shaken Atlas's paw. They had watched him play and protect and obey. They had seen his capacity for gentleness alongside his capacity for violence. I will speak with the parents, Raylan said. If they agree, we can arrange a supervised meeting, but I will be present with full medical equipment ready. Ruby smiled. Fair enough. You will see. Atlas loves kids. 2 days later, Raylan found themselves in a small conference room with Ruby, Atlas, and 3 young Fenari children. The parents watched anxiously through the observation window, ready to intervene if anything went wrong. The children were nervous but excited. They had spent days watching the big creature play, and curiosity had overcome fear. Atlas sat calmly at Ruby's side, his posture relaxed and friendly. His tail swayed gently across the floor. Okay, Ruby said to the children, speaking slowly so the translators could keep up. Atlas is a dog. Dogs are friendly, but you need to follow some rules when meeting them. First, always ask the owner if you can pet their dog. Never just run up and touch them. The children nodded seriously. Second, let the dog sniff you first. They learn about the world through smell. Hold out your paw like this, Ruby demonstrated. Let Atlas come to you. Do not grab at him. One of the children, a little female named Tippy, raised her paw nervously. Will he bite? Not if you are gentle and calm, Ruby assured her. Atlas, come say hello. Atlas stood and walked slowly toward the children. His movements were careful, measured. He approached Tippy first, sniffed her extended paw, then sat down in front of her. His tail wagged. Tippy giggled. He is wagging his tail. That means he is happy, right? Exactly right, Ruby confirmed. You can pet him now. Gentle strokes along his back or sides. Avoid his face until you know him better. Tippy reached out with a trembling paw and touched Atlas's fur. Her eyes widened. He is so soft and warm. The other 2 children moved closer, emboldened by Tippy's success. Soon all 3 were petting Atlas, their initial fear forgotten. The dog sat patiently, accepting the attention with grace. When one child accidentally pulled his fur too hard, Atlas simply turned his head and gave a gentle lick to that child's paw, a correction without aggression. Why is he licking me? The child asked. That is how dogs show affection, Ruby explained. It is like a kiss. The parents in the observation room had relaxed considerably. Commander Hallex, also watching, looked thoughtful. This changes everything, he said to Raylan. If children can safely interact with these creatures, if they can be taught proper behavior, then integration becomes possible. Raylan watched as Atlas rolled onto his back, letting the Fenari children rub his belly. The supposedly terrifying predator was acting like an oversized stuffed toy. But Raylan also noticed how Atlas's eyes never left Ruby, how he checked her expression every few seconds, taking cues from her body language. The key is education, Raylan said, both for the humans and their dogs and for the rest of us. We need to understand each other. Agreed, Hallex said. Ruby mentioned other humans arriving with dogs. I want full integration protocols developed before they get here. Training programs, behavioral guidelines, emergency procedures, everything. I will work on it, Raylan promised. In the conference room, Tippy asked Ruby a question. Can I have a dog someday? Ruby laughed gently. That is up to your parents. Dogs are wonderful, but they are also a big responsibility. They need care, training, exercise, and love. They live for many years and depend on you completely. I would take care of it, Tippy insisted. I would be responsible. Maybe someday, Ruby said. But for now you can visit Atlas whenever you want. With permission, of course. Raylan made one final note on their datapad. Humans do not just survive their death world. They thrive there by forming connections with the danger around them. They turn predators into partners, threats into friends. It was the most human thing Raylan had encountered yet, this refusal to let danger dictate the boundaries of love. 2 months passed, and Andromeda Station transformed in ways nobody had predicted. The conference room where Raylan once examined a sedated predator now hosted weekly seminars on Earth species. The audience grew each week as more aliens overcame their fear and chose curiosity instead. Raylan stood at the front of the room, a holographic display showing various images of dogs. 5 human families had arrived since Ruby, bringing with them 3 more dogs, 2 cats, and something called a rabbit that made even Ruby nervous when it thumped its back legs. The key to understanding Earth pets, Raylan explained to the assembled crowd, is recognizing that domestication is a partnership, not subjugation. These creatures choose to live with humans just as humans choose to live with them. A Dravik in the 3rd row raised his clawed hand, but they are predators. dangerous predators. How can humans trust them in their homes? Trust is built over time through consistent positive interaction, Rylan answered. They had given this explanation so many times now that it came naturally. Dogs have lived with humans for over 40,000 Earth years. They have evolved alongside humanity. Their survival depends on maintaining good relationships with humans, just as human quality of life improves by having dogs. Another attendee, a nervous Quellen merchant, asked, "What about attacks? Surely these creatures sometimes harm humans." Ruby, sitting in the front row with Atlas at her feet, raised her hand to respond. Rylan nodded permission. Dog attacks happen, Ruby admitted honestly, but they are usually the result of poor breeding, lack of training, abuse, or humans ignoring warning signals. A well-bred, properly trained, and socialized dog is statistically very safe. You are in more danger from accidents or disease than from a pet dog, the crowd murmured, processing this information. Atlas, hearing his human speak, lifted his head and thumped his tail against the floor. Several nearby aliens flinched at the sound, but most just smiled. Atlas had become something of a station celebrity, and his gentle behavior had convinced many skeptics. "Today we are going to do a practical demonstration," Rylan announced. 4 human-dog teams have volunteered to show what proper training looks like. This is not entertainment. This is education about capabilities and control. The demonstration area had been set up in the larger cargo bay. Safety protocols were in place, but they were minimal now. Most station residents had accepted that dogs, while powerful, were not randomly violent. Ruby and Atlas went first. She ran through basic commands: sit, stay, down, come. Atlas performed each flawlessly, his attention focused completely on Ruby. Then she demonstrated more advanced skills. "Atlas, heel," Ruby commanded. She walked in a complex pattern, and Atlas stayed perfectly at her left side, matching her pace exactly, even when she stopped suddenly or changed direction. "Find it," Ruby said, hiding a toy while Atlas's eyes were covered. The dog used his nose to track the toy's location, finding it in under 30 seconds. "Speak," Ruby ordered. Atlas barked once, a deep sound that made everyone jump. "Quiet." The barking stopped immediately. The crowd was impressed, but Commander Hallex had requested one more demonstration: protection training. This was controversial but necessary if dogs were going to be integrated into station security. Ruby set up the scenario. A volunteer wearing a heavily padded suit acted as a threat, approaching Ruby with exaggerated aggressive movements. Atlas's body language changed instantly. His playful demeanor vanished, replaced by focused intensity. "Atlas, watch," Ruby commanded. The dog positioned himself between Ruby and the threat, every muscle ready but controlled. He did not bark, did not lunge, just watched with complete attention. The volunteer made a sudden movement toward Ruby. Atlas moved like lightning, intercepting the threat and grabbing the padded arm. His bite was firm and controlled. He held the position, not thrashing or causing injury, just maintaining the grip. "Atlas out," Ruby said calmly. Immediately, the dog released and returned to her side, sitting at attention. The volunteer removed their helmet, grinning. "That was impressive. I could feel the power, but it was completely controlled. He could have hurt me badly if you had not trained him properly." "That is the point," Ruby said. "German Shepherds are used as police and military dogs on Earth because they have the capability to stop threats, but also the intelligence and training to know when to stop. They are not weapons. They are partners." The other 3 human dog teams demonstrated next. A border collie showed incredible herding instincts, moving a group of small robots as if they were sheep. A golden retriever performed search and rescue techniques, finding a hidden person by scent alone. A Labrador demonstrated detection work, identifying specific chemical compounds from a lineup of samples. Each demonstration showed the same thing: intelligence, training, and partnership. These were not mindless beasts. They were working animals with specific skills, developed over generations of breeding and individual training. When the demonstrations ended, Rylan opened the floor for questions. Hands, paws, tentacles, and other appendages shot up across the audience. "Can any dog be trained to this level?" someone asked. "Not every dog is suited for every job," Ruby answered. "Breeding matters. Temperament matters. Some dogs are better at protection work. Others excel at detection or therapy work. And some dogs are just meant to be family pets, which is also important." Not every dog needs a job beyond being a good companion. A young Finari stood up, Tippy from the earlier meeting. I have been visiting Atlas every week. He remembers me now. When I come in, he wags his tail and comes to me. Does that mean he likes me? Ruby smiled. Yes, Tippy, that definitely means he likes you. Dogs form attachments to people they interact with regularly. You are his friend now. Tippy beamed with pride. Her parents looked less terrified than they had 2 months ago. Progress. Commander Halleck stepped forward as the seminar wound down. I have an announcement. After observing the capabilities demonstrated today, Station Security has decided to establish a K9 program. We will be bringing in specialized dogs from Earth and training a team of handlers from various species who volunteer for the program. The crowd reacted with mixed emotions, excitement from those who had come to appreciate dogs, concern from those still nervous about Death World predators in security roles. This is optional, Halleck clarified. No one will be forced to work with dogs or encounter them if they are uncomfortable. But we believe this program will improve station security while helping integrate human residents and their pets into our community. Rylan felt a strange pride hearing this announcement. 2 months ago, they had been terrified of a sedated predator. Now they were lecturing on cross-species partnerships and helping establish integration programs. Ruby and Atlas had changed not just Rylan's perspective, but the entire station's approach to Earth species. After the crowd dispersed, Ruby approached Rylan with Atlas at her side. Thank you for doing this, Doctor. I know it was not easy at first. I have learned much, Rylan admitted. About dogs, about humans, about my own capacity for adaptation. Your species has a remarkable ability to form connections across biological boundaries. It is what we do best, Ruby said. Humans are not the strongest or fastest or most intelligent species in the galaxy, but we are very good at making friends even with creatures that seem impossible to befriend. Atlas pushed his head under Rylan's hand, a clear request for attention. Rylan, without thinking, scratched behind the dog's ears. Atlas's tail wagged, and Rylan realized they were no longer afraid. This was normal now. Natural. The other humans arriving next week, Rylan said. The manifest mentioned cats. Tell me about cats, Ruby laughed. Oh, you're going to love cats. They are even more independent than dogs. Beautiful, elegant, and completely convinced they are in charge. But still predators. Still predators, Ruby agreed. Just smaller and furrier. Though honestly, cats are more likely to judge you than attack you. Rylan pulled up the file on cats that evening after Ruby left. The specifications were alarming. Retractable claws, ambush hunting tactics, incredible reflexes, territorial aggression, and yet humans kept them in their homes, let them sleep in their beds, treated them like family members. Earth had produced 2 main types of pet predators, and humans loved both. Rylan began preparing information packets for the station population. If dogs had taught them anything, it was that fear could be overcome with education and exposure. Pip entered the office carrying a stack of files. Doctor, you have 3 appointments tomorrow with newly arrived humans requesting pet clearances. 2 dogs and 1 cat. Schedule them, Rylan said. And Pip, I need you to attend these appointments with me. No more hiding in the back room? Pip's whiskers twitched nervously. But doctor, they are predators. They are pets, Rylan corrected gently. There is a difference, and you will never understand that difference if you continue to hide. The next morning, Rylan met the first new arrival. A human family with 2 children and a large dog called a St. Bernard. The dog was even bigger than Atlas with thick fur and a gentle expression. Despite its size, it moved carefully around the children, patient and calm. The second appointment brought a small dog, a beagle whose primary interest seemed to be sniffing everything in the medical center. The human explained that beagles were bred for tracking scents and had an incredible sense of smell. The third appointment was the cat. A sleek gray creature with green eyes that watched everything with calculating intelligence. Unlike the dogs who wagged tails and offered paws, the cat sat regally on the examination table and stared at Rylan as if judging their competence. This is Smoke, the human owner said. He is a Russian blue. Very sweet, just a bit aloof until he gets to know you. Rylan examined the cat carefully. It tolerated the checkup with bored patience, occasionally flicking its tail. When Rylan tried to do something Smoke did not appreciate, the cat simply stood up and walked to the other end of the table. No aggression, just clear communication. Stop that. Cats have strong preferences, the owner explained. They let you know when they are unhappy. usually without violence. Smoke might hiss or walk away, but he would never hurt anyone without serious provocation. After the appointments, Rilan updated their files. 3 more Earth predators approved for station residency. 3 more opportunities for the community to learn and adapt. That evening, Rilan attended a station council meeting. The topic was long-term integration of human residents and their pets. Proposals included dedicated pet areas, training facilities, and even a veterinary clinic specializing in Earth species. "We are setting precedents here," one council member said. "Other stations will look to us as an example of how to integrate human populations. We need to get this right." "We are getting it right," Rilan said confidently. 2 months ago we feared these creatures. Now we understand them. That is progress. The council approved funding for expanded facilities. Rilan would oversee the veterinary clinic. Ruby would direct training programs. Commander Hallex would develop security protocols. Andromeda Station was not just accepting humans and their pets. It was building a new model for cross-species community integration. As Rilan walked back to their quarters that night, they passed the exercise bay. Ruby was inside with Atlas, playing fetch one last time before bed. The dog ran with pure joy, completely happy, completely trusted. Rilan remembered their first encounter with Atlas, the fear they felt, the certainty that this predator was dangerous. That fear had been based on ignorance. Knowledge replaced fear with understanding. Understanding created respect. And respect built relationships. The galaxy's toughest vet no longer felt tough. They felt humble, grateful for the education Ruby and Atlas had provided. The human had smiled and said it was only a puppy, and she had been right. Atlas was a puppy who grew into a good dog, a friend, a teacher. Tomorrow more humans would arrive. More dogs, more cats, probably more species that would initially seem terrifying. But Rilan was ready now. They had learned the most important lesson. Sometimes the scariest things become the most rewarding relationships if you give them a chance. 6 months changed everything. The cargo bay that once held emergency containment equipment now served as a community center where species from across the galaxy gathered to watch dogs play. Children of a dozen different races laughed together, while puppies tumbled over each other in supervised playgroups. What began with fear had transformed into something Rilan never expected: joy. The new veterinary clinic opened on the station's 3rd level, designed specifically for Earth species but welcoming all creatures. Rilan stood in the main examination room reviewing the day's schedule. 12 appointments ranging from routine checkups to vaccination updates. 5 different dog breeds, 3 cats, 2 rabbits, and something called a guinea pig that Ruby assured them was not actually from Guinea, nor was it a pig. "Dr. Rilan," Pip called from the reception area. The little Fenari assistant no longer hid when Earth pets arrived. In fact, Pip had become quite fond of a small dog named Biscuit, a corgi with short legs and a cheerful personality. "Your first appointment is here, the Morrison family with their new puppy." Rilan walked into the waiting area and found a human couple with a fluffy ball of golden fur squirming in the woman's arms. The puppy could not have been more than 12 weeks old, all oversized paws and floppy ears. "This is Sunny," Mrs. Morrison said, shifting the wiggling puppy. "She is our first dog. We just moved to the station last week." "Welcome," Rilan said warmly. "Let us get Sunny checked over and make sure she is healthy." The examination was straightforward. Sunny was a healthy golden retriever puppy, full of energy and curiosity. She tried to chew on Rilan's instruments, licked their scales, and wagged her tail so hard she nearly fell off the table twice. By the end of the appointment, Rilan found themselves smiling at the puppy's enthusiasm. "She will need socialization training," Rilan advised. "Ruby Collins runs classes every week in the community center. I highly recommend enrolling Sunny." "We plan to," Mr. Morrison said. "Everyone told us Ruby is the best." "She helped write the station's integration protocols, right?" "She did," Rilan confirmed. "Much of what we know about living with Earth pets we learned from Ruby and Atlas." As the Morrison family left, Pip updated the schedule. "Doctor, you have that interview in 30 minutes. The journalist from the Galactic Times." "Right." Rilan had agreed to discuss the station's integration program for a major publication. Other stations across the galaxy were considering similar programs, and Andromeda's success had attracted attention. The journalist arrived promptly, a tall Quellan with recording equipment. "Dr. Rilan, thank you for meeting with me. The galaxy is fascinated by what you have accomplished here. 6 months ago, this station had never seen an Earth dog. Now you have over 20 dogs, 10 cats, and various other Earth pets living peacefully with the general population. How did you achieve this? Relan considered the question carefully. We started with fear, like everyone does when confronting the unknown. But we chose education over avoidance. We learned about these creatures, understood their needs and behaviors, and taught our community how to interact with them safely. The key was recognizing that dogs are not just predators, they are partners. Some critics say you are taking unnecessary risks. These are death-world creatures living in close proximity to civilians. Every species brings some level of risk, Relan replied. Dravik have natural weapons. Krellians produce toxic secretions when stressed. Quellans like yourself have strength far exceeding most humanoids. We manage these risks through understanding and appropriate precautions. Earth pets are no different. The interview continued for another hour, covering training protocols, incident responses, and future plans. When the journalist finally left, Rylan felt satisfied they had represented the program well. The afternoon brought a different kind of challenge. An emergency call came from the residential sector. A new arrival from a species called Vortan had encountered a dog in the corridor and panicked, triggering a station-wide anxiety response from their empathic abilities. Relan arrived to find Ruby already there with Atlas. The Vortan was backed against a wall, their multiple eyes wide with fear, while Atlas sat calmly 10 meters away, completely uninterested in the frightened alien. I did not know, the Vortan gasped. I came around the corner and there was this beast and I felt its predator instincts and I panicked. That is understandable, Ruby said gently. You are new to the station and unfamiliar with dogs. This is Atlas, he is my partner and friend. He means you no harm, but I can sense its nature. It is a hunter. Yes, Ruby agreed. Dogs are predators. But being a predator does not mean being dangerous to everyone they encounter. Atlas hunts only what I tell him to hunt, which is usually just tennis balls and frisbees. Rylan stepped forward. Perhaps a controlled introduction would help. We have found that direct positive experience reduces fear more effectively than avoidance. The Vortan hesitated but agreed. Ruby brought Atlas closer slowly, explaining his body language, his training, his role in her life. Atlas, sensing the nervousness, kept his movements gentle and his tail wagging slowly. He feels your fear, Ruby explained, but he is not responding to it aggressively. He is being calm to help you feel calm. That is what good dogs do. By the end of the encounter, the Vortan had touched Atlas's fur and even smiled when the dog yawned and laid down, showing complete non-aggression, another small victory for understanding over fear. That evening, Rylan attended the station council's monthly meeting. The main topic was the K9 security program that had launched 3 months earlier. Commander Hallex presented results. We now have 6 trained security dogs and handlers from 4 different species, Hallex reported. The dogs have assisted in 3 successful searches, detected contraband in 5 inspections, and their presence has reduced minor crimes in patrolled areas by 40%. The program is exceeding all expectations. One council member raised a concern. Have there been any incidents? Any aggressive behavior? 2 false alarms where civilians misinterpreted dog behavior as threatening, Hallex said. Both were resolved through education. The dogs themselves have behaved flawlessly. Their training and handler oversight ensure they only act on command. The council voted to expand the program and allocate additional funding. Rylan felt proud watching this unfold. 6 months ago, this same council had debated whether to allow dogs on the station at all. After the meeting, Rylan found Ruby in the community center. She was teaching an evening class, a mixed group of humans and aliens learning about dog behavior and training. Atlas demonstrated commands while Ruby explained the psychology behind them. The important thing to remember, Ruby told the class, is that dogs want to please their humans. They are not trying to be difficult. If a dog is not obeying, it is usually because they do not understand what you want, or they have not been properly trained. Patience and consistency are key. A Fennery in the class raised their paw. My family is considering adopting a dog. How do we know which breed is right for us? Ruby launched into a detailed explanation of different breeds, their characteristics, and how to match a dog to a family's lifestyle. Rylan watched, impressed by how much knowledge Ruby shared freely. She had become more than a pet owner. She was an ambassador for her entire planet's relationship with animals. When the class ended, Rylan approached Ruby. You have done remarkable work here. This entire integration program exists because you were patient with us. Ruby scratched Atlas behind his ears, and the dog leaned against her contentedly. I just did what came naturally. Humans have been living with dogs for so long that we forget it might seem strange to other species. But the principles are universal, really. Respect, communication, patience. Those work in any relationship. What will you do when more humans arrive? The immigration office reports 50 human families scheduled to move here over the next year. Many will have pets. I will keep teaching, Ruby said simply. And, hopefully, some of the aliens I have trained will start teaching too. This does not have to be just humans explaining dogs. Anyone who understands them can help others learn. Relan nodded. That was already happening. 3 non-human residents had completed handler training and were now helping with socialization classes. A message alert interrupted their conversation. Rylan checked their pad and felt their scales ripple with surprise. A transport has just docked. The manifest list of family bringing a dog, 2 cats, and a pet snake. Ruby laughed. Ah, snakes. That will be interesting. They are very different from dogs and cats. How different? Rylan asked nervously. Well, they are reptiles, not mammals. They do not have legs. They are carnivores who eat their prey whole, and they can be venomous, though most pet snakes are not. Rylan pulled up the file on snakes and felt faint. Why would humans keep these as pets? Because they are beautiful, fascinating, and much easier to care for than dogs, Ruby said. Snakes are quiet, do not need walks, and are actually quite calm if handled properly. You will see. The next morning, Rylan met the snake for the first time. It was a ball python, about 1 meter long with smooth scales in a pattern of brown and gold. The human owner let it drape across their shoulders while explaining its care requirements. To Rylan's surprise, the snake was docile and curious, not aggressive at all. It moved slowly, tasting the air with its forked tongue, showing no interest in attacking anything. When offered a chance to touch it, Rylan found the scales surprisingly pleasant, smooth, and cool. See? Ruby said, observing the introduction. Different from dogs, but still a pet. Still a relationship built on trust and proper care. Over the following weeks, the snake became another teaching moment for the station. Like dogs before it, the initial fear gave way to understanding. Children learned to appreciate the snake's unique qualities. Scientists studied its biology. Everyone adapted. Rylan found themselves reflecting on the journey while reviewing medical files one quiet evening. 6 months ago, they had been the galaxy's toughest vet, proud of their fearlessness, confident in their expertise. Then Ruby arrived with Atlas and everything changed. They had learned that true courage was not the absence of fear. It was the willingness to face fear and move beyond it. They had learned that danger and gentleness could exist in the same creature, that predators could be friends, that humans measured relationships not by risk, but by connection. Pip entered the office with a cup of tea. The little Fenari had grown comfortable working in a clinic that regularly housed Death World predators. Doctor, you have been working late every night this week. You should rest. I am fine, Rylan said, but they accepted the tea gratefully, just thinking about how much has changed. Because of the humans and their pets, Pip said. Because of what they taught us, Rylan corrected. Ruby smiled and said it was only a puppy. She was right, but she was also wrong. Atlas was never just a puppy. He was a bridge between species, a teacher, a demonstration of what becomes possible when we choose understanding over fear. Pip nodded thoughtfully. I am glad we made that choice. My life is richer for knowing Biscuit and the other dogs. Even the cats, though they ignore me most of the time. Rylan laughed. Cats did tend to be aloof, but that was part of their charm once you understood them. A notification appeared on Rylan's screen. Another transport arriving next week. More humans, more pets, more opportunities for growth and learning. The galaxy was slowly figuring out that humans came as a package deal with their animal companions, and stations that welcomed both thrived. Rylan shut down their computer and headed home, but made one stop first. The exercise bay where Ruby was doing Atlas's evening routine. The dog ran and played, completely happy, completely trusted. Ruby threw a ball and Atlas brought it back, tail wagging, eyes bright with joy. Mind if I join you? Rylan asked. Not at all, Ruby said, handing them a ball. Want to try throwing it? Rylan took the ball and threw it awkwardly. Atlas took off like a shot, caught it mid-air and returned it, dropping it at Rylan's feet with an expectant look. Good boy, Atlas, Rylan said and meant it. They threw the ball again, and again. Each throw felt more natural. Each return from Atlas felt less like a predator approaching and more like a friend sharing a game. Ruby watched with a smile. "You have come a long way, Doctor." "We all have," Rilan replied. "That is the real story here. Not that humans brought predators to the station, but that the station learned to see beyond the predator to the individual. Every dog is different. Every cat has personality. Every pet is a being worth knowing." "That is a very human perspective," Ruby observed. "Perhaps," Rilan agreed. "Or perhaps it is simply the right perspective and humans learned it first. Either way, I am grateful for the lesson." Atlas dropped the ball one more time, then sat and looked up at Rylan with those intelligent eyes. Rylan reached down and scratched behind his ears, no fear, no hesitation. Just affection for a friend. 6 months ago, the galaxy's toughest vet had panicked at the sight of a dog in a crate. Now that same vet played fetch with that same dog and thought about how to better serve the growing community of Earth pets on the station. It was not the career path Rylan had expected, but it was the one they needed. Someone had to be first. Someone had to face the fear and find the friendship waiting on the other side. Ruby had smiled and said it was only a puppy. She had been inviting Rylan to see past the predator to the companion, past the danger to the devotion, past the fear to the future, and Rylan had accepted that invitation. The galaxy was a bigger place now, full of wagging tails and purring cats and the quiet beauty of snakes, full of relationships that should not work but did, full of bridges built between species who learned that connection was stronger than fear. Atlas barked once, wanting another throw. Rylan obliged, watching the dog run with pure joy, and thought about all the puppies, kittens, and other pets yet to arrive on the station. Each one would be an opportunity. Each one would be a teacher. And Rylan would be there to learn, to help others learn, to continue building this impossible, wonderful community, where Deathworld predators napped in the sunshine and children of a dozen species played together without fear. It was only a puppy, Ruby had said. She had been right all along.